All right, so we're going to the Gym. By Gym, I mean gym. To do, lift some things, run on some things, and be healthy, healthier, I suppose. All right, so it's getting a bit colder in Jordan. Thus the sweater, and that Jordan winter, that'll get you. I didn't think it'd be super cold, but it's getting a little nippy for my taste. Traffic circles all over this city. Not a fan of crossing them. So yeah, I wanted to talk about the first few months, I guess, at the school. I teach grades 7, 6, and 8. That's a weird order. But yeah, I teach history to all those grades, and then I teach math and science to the 6s. Alright, so that's my gym up there. It's actually in a hotel. That's pretty dope. Okay, so I'm about ready to go here in this very empty gym. So like I said, just a rundown of the past couple months. I guess I'll start with the grade 7s because there's only 6 of them. One word to note, the grade 7 curriculum is kind of just all straight history. So it's been kind of the least entertaining, I would say. Though I am getting into some good stuff, so just wait. But basically I've gone through historical literacy terms with them through historicalthinking.ca. I can link that down below. It's pretty good. We went through how to sort of think historically. So for the whole of the year, if that was a bike. So for the whole of the year, they'll have these terms to help them analyze what we actually study in history. And then we've gotten into things like the First Nations and Indigenous peoples of North America, and we're slowly getting into explorers in North America, and then that will lead us into the fur trade. I know, riveting stuff. But basically that's just been a bunch of projects, so presentations, note-taking. I'm noticing they really need to work on not copy and pasting things, so I'm kind of doing some more skill-based projects, so then later on when they acquire those skills, we can actually move on to some good inquiry stuff. And it's a similar thing with the 8s. So the 8s is all history this year, but in different regions of the world. So what we've been kind of doing lately is Japan, Edo, Japan. Again, just a bunch of project-based stuff, so I can sort of assess at the beginning of the year what's their skill levels in this, can they read properly, can they manage and evaluate information, and then can they apply that knowledge. I do like to give them a lot of creative projects. I've noticed in the class we've got a lot of artists, so I've been giving them usually 2 options, one kind of written word essay-ish type project. Well, not necessarily a formal essay, but something they have to present to me on the topic we're doing. Or I'll take like a more creative turn, such as designing a new flag for Japan based on its geographical values. Or now we're getting into comparing 2 short stories, or you can write your own story that relates to the 47 Ronin. So yeah, that's kind of just generally what I've been doing with those 2 classes in the history department. Alright, so back at the school, it's the end of the week. Thursday in Jordan is like our Friday. And actually today the first term report cards just went out, so the kids were obviously excited and some were not. But overall it was a great week, it was a good day. So anyway, back to what I'm doing with the grade 6s, which is the class I see the most by far. So I teach them history, we call it social studies here. It's what I specialized in when I studied teaching, so I know the most about that subject. Grade 6 curriculum, it's all about democracy. And democracy is a bit different in Jordan. They have their king, they still have a parliament, but I'm still not even quite sure how it works. I haven't really found actually too much information on the internet about it, which is kind of odd, so it's been hard to draw comparisons there. But we've been studying democracy in like other countries like Canada, Britain, the United States, Australia. But basically I've been breaking it down on a conceptual level. I use this thing called backward design when I plan all my units, so begin with the end in mind. So I start with my outcomes, and then I think of assessment tasks, and then I think of activities and mini kind of assessments that I can do to drive learning forward towards those assessment projects, which will allow me to assess whether or not they're meeting the outcome, or to what extent they're meeting the outcome. And I do that for everything. It's beautiful. So basically what we're working up to is making our own Charter of Rights and Freedoms that we will then present to the school. But right now we're still kind of working on democracy on a conceptual level. So I started them out with making mind maps in pairs. That took about, I think, 2 weeks actually, and I was pretty impressed with their work. That way they research a lot of vocabulary terms that we looked at later, and now they kind of know how democracy works in such a way. Now we're kind of moving on to the fun part, having democracy in our class. So what I've done is get them into different partners, and right now they're designing a political party logo, and then they will be writing a platform on the ideas they would present to the school if they were elected as the class representative, if they were to sit in the parliament of the school. And it's going well, they're really into it. I've got some great logo designs, some very interesting political party names. And one of my favorite platform points is that one of my groups wants to have a chicken farm at the school. So, not sure how they would achieve that, but I can't wait for the explanation. So that's where we are right now, essentially. Probably the past 4 weeks or so. Science, which is the subject I had no idea I would be teaching. I found out I was teaching it once I got here. But actually, it's been really fun. I'm really liking teaching science. The curriculum is straightforward enough that I could follow it, but it kind of allows room for innovation and things like that. And I got these really great unit guides that the school's provided. Oh, hi Megan.
Hi, sorry.
I'm vlogging. This is my friend Megan.
Hi.
She feels really bad. Okay, so back to it. So we're doing science, and we've been researching air and flight as of late. And again, it was sort of a similar thing where I picked a big kind of design task or big assessment that we're doing, and everything that we've been doing, like the mini assessments, the activities, has been driving the learning forward leading up to this big assessment. They're actually doing that big assessment now. They're actually designing working planes out of materials like cardboard, like cereal boxes. I find is working really well. Some have actually used construction paper. We did our first test today, and 2 of them, I would say, glided. The rest kind of just fell with style. But that's okay. That's what I'm teaching them. I'm using kind of the design thinking process of prototyping, seeing what's wrong, and then fixing it. So they get to do 3 tests. This was test 1 today, and we had a really good discussion on what they can improve, so that's exciting. And obviously they're using like vocabulary like pitch, roll, yaw, thrust, weight, lift, drag, yada yada, all that good stuff. Now math. Math is something I do not teach. Math is something I really don't even like unless it's pretty simple and I can do it, so I feel good. But it's been fun teaching math, but I'm finding it to be, on the one hand, really simple, and on the one hand, extremely challenging. And what I mean is that I could definitely teach math. It's very straightforward. You give them steps, they do things. What I'm finding challenging is finding more engaging ways or innovative ways to teach math than just me going on the board, saying things, and giving them worksheets to do. And I've been doing a bit of research, so what I'm trying to do now is sort of incorporate mathematical concepts into projects such as storytelling. So we're learning how to do decimal arithmetic right now, and what they have to do, or what they will have to do eventually, is kind of create a story for me. I'm also noticing this class, being that most of their first languages is not English, are having trouble with word problems, so I'm going to get them to try to create a word problem as a means to understand it. But other than that, like, I'm just looking at a bunch of different ways to teach math. I found Jump Math is a really good resource. It's step-by-step. Math is also challenging because sometimes it's one of those things where I find I am running out of ways to explain it. And when a student says they still don't understand, it really challenges me to stretch my thinking of how can I teach this concept differently, how can I teach it visually, in text form, or in a way that they might understand. So manipulatives have been really useful, just doing equations. Math Antics is a really good YouTube channel. I would highly recommend them. They explain things pretty well, I find. But yeah, that's kind of what we've been doing now. Math, we've just been doing like numbers, social studies, democracy, and science, air and flight. Now, I won't go too much into it, but aside from teaching, obviously, we do other things. By which I mean, I've heard this really great quote that a teacher is not just a teacher, but in a day we'll be a therapist, a doctor, a police officer. We have to fill all these roles because children are unpredictable, basically. So you might have a day where actually you're managing behavior more than teaching, or you're trying to teach certain values like responsibility and things like that. Or in my class's case, cleanliness. But I won't go too much into it, but some of the things I'm noticing in my class in terms of behavior is most are good. Grade 6, they're still at that age where they make weird noises out of nowhere for no reason, so trying to get them to be a little less weird. In a formal setting, you know, if you're with your friends, you make weird noises, and I don't know, that's fine, I guess. In terms of focus, that's also something we're working on. I try to make my lessons as engaging as possible. Sometimes I agree I could probably do better in that department, definitely. I think, you know, every teacher probably could. But some kids just get distracted so easily, so in terms of those kids, I really have to be on top of it, telling them to focus. I would say it's been going well. Since day one, I think a lot of my classes improved. I personally am quite happy with the job I'm doing, and I am even happier that I know and I have a clear vision of areas where I can grow in. That's probably what I'll get into a little bit later. And to end off this vlog, this is probably the format I'm going to follow from now on. I hope to give just weekly updates of what I've been doing, what I'm dealing with. I brought you all up to speed now, so that's going to be it. Thanks for watching.